The warning came through the radio at 3 in the morning. Hanul jerked awake in his captain's chair as the emergency signal cut through the silence of the mining ship Dawn Chaser. Mayday, Mayday. This is cargo vessel Blue Moon. Something is attacking us. It's huge and white and it moves without a suit in space. Dear God, it has teeth like swords. The transmission ended in static. Hanul rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the star charts on his screen. The Blue Moon was only 2 hours away from their current position in the asteroid belt. He had been mining these rocks for 15 years and had never heard anything like that distress call. "Captain," called Kyung from the communications station. "I'm picking up 3 more ships in that area. They're not responding to our calls." Hanul stood up and walked to the main viewing window. Outside, the black void of space stretched in all directions. Thousands of asteroids drifted slowly through the darkness, each one holding precious metals that kept the human colonies supplied with materials they needed to survive. "Set course for the Blue Moon's last position," Hanul ordered. "Maybe we can help." The Dawn Chaser turned and began moving through the asteroid field. Hanul had been working these mining routes since before his daughter Nari was born. He knew every dangerous rock and every safe passage through this part of space. 2 hours later, they found the Blue Moon, or what was left of it. The cargo ship had been torn apart. Huge pieces of metal floated in space like broken toys. The hull showed deep scratches that ran from one end of the ship to the other. Each scratch was as wide as a man's body. "What could do this?" whispered Kyung as he stared at the wreckage. Hanul had seen ship accidents before. He had seen what happened when engines exploded or when ships hit asteroids at high speed. This was different. The metal was not burned or melted. It was torn apart by something with incredible strength. "Look at those marks," said Baum. "The ship's doctor." She pointed at the scratches on a large piece of hull. "Those look like claw marks, but they're huge." Hanul activated the ship's scanning equipment. The computer searched through the debris field, looking for any sign of life. All the crew compartments had been breached. No one could survive in the vacuum of space without a suit. "Wait," said Kyung. "I'm getting readings from the other ships too. They're about 1 kilometer away." The Dawn Chaser moved carefully through the floating wreckage. Soon they found the remains of 2 more vessels. Both ships had been destroyed in the same way. Long claw marks tore through their hulls. Pieces of metal floated everywhere. 3 ships, Hanul said quietly. All destroyed by the same thing. The crew of the Dawn Chaser worked in silence as they collected data about the destroyed ships. They took pictures of the claw marks and gathered pieces of metal for analysis. Whatever had attacked these vessels was unlike anything they had seen before. That evening, Hanul made his daily video call to his daughter. Nari was 8 years old and lived on the mining station with her teacher while her father worked in the asteroid belt. Her bright smile always made him feel better after long days of dangerous work. "Hi, Daddy," Nari said from her small room on the station. "Did you find any good rocks today?" "Yes, little star," Hanul replied. "We found some very valuable ore. How was your day at school?" "It was good. We learned about different animals that live in space. Teacher said there are creatures that can survive in the vacuum without suits. Is that true?" Hanul felt a chill run down his spine. "There are some stories about such things, but they're probably just tales that miners tell each other." "I think it would be amazing to live in space without a suit," Nari said. "You could swim through the stars and visit all the planets you wanted." Behind Hanul, Kyung was talking quietly with the other crew members about the destroyed ships. Nari heard their conversation through the video call. "Daddy, why are the men talking? About a space wolf? Did you see one?" Hanul quickly muted the conversation behind him. "It's nothing important, little star. Just work talk." "But I heard them say it was white and very big. Is the space wolf angry about something?" The innocent question made Hanul uncomfortable. His daughter had always been curious about everything, but he didn't want her to worry about the dangers of his work. "Don't worry about grown-up things," he said gently. "Tell me about your drawings instead." Nari held up a picture she had made with colored pencils. It showed a small girl and a large white animal playing together among the stars. "I drew myself with a space dog," she said proudly. "He's very friendly and he protects people from bad things." Hanul smiled, but his heart felt heavy. His daughter's innocent view of the universe was so different from the harsh reality he faced every day. Space was beautiful, but it was also dangerous and full of things that could kill without warning. After ending the video call, Hanul joined his crew in the main room. They were studying the data they had collected from the destroyed ships. "The claw marks are all the same size," Baum reported. "Whatever made them has claws that are at least 2 meters long, and look at this." She showed them a piece of metal that had been twisted into an impossible shape. "The strength required to do this is beyond anything we've seen." "There are stories," said Kyung slowly. "Old miners talk about a creature that lives in the deep void. They call it the White Ghost. They say it's as big as a small ship and it hunts anything that moves through its territory." "Stories," Hanul said firmly. "Just stories to scare new miners." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure he believed his own words. The evidence was right in front of them. Something had destroyed 3 ships with incredible violence. Something that could survive in the vacuum of space and tear through metal, like paper. Far away in the darkness between the asteroids, something white and massive moved through the void. Silver Eyes watched the Dawn Chaser from a distance. The creature had been observing the human ship for hours, studying its movements and trying to decide if it was worth hunting. For 50 years, the creature had roamed the void alone. She had learned to survive in the cold vacuum of space where no other living thing could exist. She had grown strong by hunting the weak and taking what she needed from those who dared to enter her territory. But something about this ship was different. The creature could sense emotions from the beings inside, and these humans felt different from the others she had encountered. There was sadness in them, and worry, but also something else, something that made her hesitate. The white creature floated in the darkness, watching and waiting. Soon she would decide whether these humans deserved the same fate as the others who had crossed her path. The hunt was about to begin. The white creature had no name that humans could understand. In her own mind, she thought of herself simply as Hunter. For 50 years, she had ruled the dark spaces between the stars where no other living thing could survive. She had not always been alone. Long ago, she belonged to a pack of her own kind on a distant world, but the pack demanded submission. They wanted her to bow her head to the alpha male and follow orders without question. Hunter had refused. The fight that followed had been brief but violent. Hunter was stronger than the alpha, faster than his lieutenants, and more cunning than any of them. But when she won, the pack turned against her. They drove her away from the only home she had ever known. That was when she discovered space. In the cold vacuum between worlds, she found freedom. No pack rules, no alpha to obey. Just endless darkness where she could hunt as she pleased. Over the decades, Hunter had grown larger and stronger. She learned to move through space like a fish swims through water. Her white fur protected her from radiation. Her silver eyes could see heat signatures from great distances. She became the perfect predator. The mining ships were easy prey at first. Their crews panicked when they saw her approaching. They made mistakes that cost them their lives, but as news of her attack spread, fewer ships traveled alone through her territory. That changed 3 days ago when the bounty was announced. Hunter floated near a large asteroid, listening to the radio transmissions from nearby ships. The humans had put a price on her head. 50 million credits for proof of her death. The announcement had brought dozens of hunters to the asteroid belt. She watched their ships moving through space like hungry sharks. Most of them were military vessels with heavy weapons and armor. Others were converted cargo ships carrying mercenaries and bounty hunters. All of them were looking for her. Hunter felt something she had not experienced in many years. Anger. These newcomers thought they could invade her territory and hunt her like some common animal. They were wrong. The first bounty hunter ship she destroyed belonged to a group of pirates who had been raiding mining vessels for years. Hunter tore their ship apart with savage pleasure. She left the wreckage where other hunters would find it, as a warning. The second ship tried to run when they detected her approach. Hunter caught them near the edge of the asteroid belt and crushed their engines with her claws. She watched the crew suffocate as their air leaked into space. The third ship had been using a mining vessel as bait. Hunter found them hiding behind an asteroid, waiting to ambush her when she attacked the miners. She killed the bounty hunters first, then gently pushed the mining ship away from danger. That was when she noticed the pattern in her own behavior. She killed those who hunted others, but she often spared the miners and traders who were just trying to survive. There was something about their simple purpose that she respected. Hunter remembered the ship she had been watching for 3 days. The Dawn Chaser. The humans aboard that vessel were different from the others. When she listened to their communications, she heard worry and sadness, but also love. The captain talked to a small human child every day. Their conversations were full of warmth and care. It reminded her of something she had lost long ago. Meanwhile, aboard the Dawn Chaser, Hanul was trying to keep his crew focused on their work. The mining operation was behind schedule, and the company expected them to fill their cargo holds before returning to the station. But it was hard to concentrate with so many military ships in the area. Every few hours, they picked up distress, signals from vessels that had been attacked. The creature they were calling the Void Ghost was becoming more aggressive. "Captain," Kyung called from his station, "I'm detecting a large group of ships about 50 kilometers away. They're moving in formation toward the outer rim." Hanul looked at the scanner display. 12 ships were arranged in a hunting pattern, sweeping through the asteroid field like a net. They were obviously searching for something. "Bounty hunters," said Baum with disgust. "They're using our mining routes as hunting grounds." "It's getting dangerous out here," Kyung added. "Maybe we should return to the station early." Hanul considered the suggestion. His crew's safety was more important than meeting their mining quota. But they needed the money from this trip to keep the Dawn Chaser running. Without steady income, he would have to find work on a company ship and see his daughter even less than he already did. "We'll finish our work here and then head home," he decided. "Just keep monitoring those ships. If they get too close, we'll leave immediately." That evening, Hanul made his daily call to Nari. His daughter seemed unusually quiet during their conversation. "What's wrong, little star?" he asked. "Some of the other kids at school said the space wolf is bad," Nari replied. "They said it eats people and destroys ships, but I don't think that's right." "Why don't you think it's right?" Nari held up another drawing she had made. This one showed a large white creature floating protectively around a small ship. "I think the space wolf is just lonely," she said. "Maybe it attacks ships because it doesn't know how to make friends. If someone was nice to it, maybe it would be nice back." Hanul felt his heart tighten. His daughter's innocence was beautiful, but it also worried him. The universe was not as kind as she believed it to be. "The creature is very dangerous, Nari. It has killed many people. But Daddy, what if it only kills bad people? What if it's trying to protect the good people but doesn't know how to show it?" Before Hanul could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the Dawn Chaser. Kyung's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we have a problem. 3 bounty hunter ships are approaching fast. They're demanding that we leave the area immediately." Hanul ended the call with his daughter and rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see 3 heavily armed vessels moving toward them in an aggressive formation. "They claim this entire sector as their hunting ground," Kyung reported. "They want all civilian ships to evacuate so they can flush out the Void Ghost." "This is open space," Hanul said angrily. "They have no authority to order us around." But even as he spoke, he knew they had no choice. The bounty hunters outgunned them completely. If they wanted to survive, they would have to leave. Far away, in the darkness, Hunter watched the confrontation unfold. She had been observing the Dawn Chaser for days, trying to understand why this ship affected her differently than the others. Now she saw strangers threatening the humans she had been studying. For the first time in 50 years, Hunter felt something other than anger or hunger. She felt the need to protect something that mattered to her. The hunt was about to become very personal. The 3 bounty hunter ships surrounded the Dawn Chaser like wolves circling their prey. Their leader, a scarred man named Captain Drake, appeared on the communication screen with a cruel smile. You mining rats have 5 minutes to clear out of this sector, Drake announced. We're conducting a military operation here. This isn't military space, Hanul replied calmly. We have legal mining rights in this area. Drake's smile disappeared. Legal rights don't mean much when you're dead, miner. That creature is worth 50 million credits, and I'm not letting anyone interfere with my hunt. Hanul looked at his crew. Kyung was checking their weapons systems, but the Dawn Chaser was a mining ship, not a warship. They had cutting lasers and small defensive guns, nothing that could stand against 3 military-grade vessels. Fine, Hanul said finally. We'll move to the next sector, but this isn't over. Oh, but it is, Drake said with a nasty laugh. Because you're not just leaving, you're going to help us catch that monster. What do you mean? Your ship is perfect bait. The creature has been seen in this area several times, probably watching you. When you try to leave, it will follow. We'll be waiting. Hanul felt his blood turn cold. You want to use us as bait? That's murder. That's business. Move your ship toward the outer rim, nice and slow. If you try to run or call for help, we'll blast you out of space ourselves. The communication ended, leaving the crew of the Dawn Chaser staring at each other in shock. They can't do this, whispered Bomb. It's against every law of space. Laws don't matter out here, Kyung said grimly. We're too far from any patrol ships. No one will know what happened to us. Hanul sat heavily in his captain's chair. He thought about Nari waiting for him back at the station. She would never know what happened to her father. The thought made him feel sick. Captain, called Minho, the young engineer. We could try to fight them. With what? Hanul asked. They have military weapons and armor. We'd be destroyed in seconds. So what do we do? Hanul stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the creature that had been destroying ships for weeks. If Drake was right, it would follow them into the trap, but there was nothing they could do to stop it. We do what they say, he decided. Maybe we'll get lucky and reach patrol space before anything happens. The Dawn Chaser began moving slowly toward the edge of the asteroid field. Behind them, the 3 bounty hunter ships followed at a distance, waiting for their trap to spring. Hunter had been watching the confrontation from behind a large asteroid. Her enhanced hearing allowed her to pick up radio transmissions from all 4 ships. She understood enough human language to know what was happening. The strangers were using the Dawn Chaser as bait to draw her into an ambush. They were putting innocent people in danger to capture her. Hunter felt rage building inside her chest. These bounty hunters were the worst kind of predators. They used others as tools and cared nothing for the lives they destroyed. They were exactly the kind of creatures she enjoyed killing, but this time was different. This time they were threatening humans she had begun to care about. Hunter had never felt protective of anything before. She had lived alone for so long that she had forgotten what it meant to want to keep something safe. But watching the Dawn Chaser being forced into danger awakened something deep inside her. She began moving through the asteroid field, following the ships at a distance. Her white fur made her nearly invisible against the starlight. Her natural ability to survive in vacuum allowed her to move without leaving heat signatures that their sensors could detect. The bounty hunters had set their trap well. They waited near a cluster of large asteroids where they could hide their ships until the last moment. When Hunter appeared to attack the Dawn Chaser, they would surround her with overwhelming firepower. But Hunter had been fighting in space for 50 years. She had learned every trick of survival in the void. These hunters were skilled, but they were not as experienced as they thought. The battle began when Hunter emerged from behind an asteroid and charged directly at the nearest bounty hunter ship. The pilot panicked and opened fire too early, missing her completely. Hunter slammed into the ship's hull with the force of a meteor. Her claws tore through the armor like paper. In seconds, the ship was venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. Hunter pushed away from the wreckage and turned toward the second vessel. This pilot was more experienced. He kept his distance and tried to hit Hunter with long-range weapons, but Hunter was too fast and too smart. She used the asteroids for cover, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. The third ship joined the battle, and suddenly, Hunter was fighting 2 opponents at once. Their coordinated attack forced her to retreat behind a large asteroid. Energy, beams and missiles exploded all around her, filling space with debris and radiation. During the battle, one of the missiles went off course and struck the Dawn Chaser. The mining ship's engines died, and it began drifting helplessly toward a cluster of sharp asteroids. Hunter saw what was happening and felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. Not for herself, but for the humans aboard the Dawn Chaser. She abandoned her attack on the bounty hunters and raced toward the mining ship. Energy beams from the military vessels struck her as she moved, burning through her fur and causing terrible pain. But she didn't stop. Hunter reached the Dawn Chaser just as it was about to crash into a massive asteroid. Using all her strength, she pressed her body against the ship's hull and began pushing it away from danger. Inside the Dawn Chaser, the crew watched in amazement as the creature they had feared pressed itself against their ship. Through the viewports, they could see her massive form clearly for the first time. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Her white fur glowed like moonlight against the darkness of space. Her silver eyes were intelligent and filled with determination. She was at least 30 meters long, with claws that could cut through steel and muscles that could crush metal. But she wasn't trying to destroy their ship. She was saving it. "She's protecting us," whispered Baum in amazement. Hunter pushed the Dawn Chaser clear of the asteroid field, but the effort left her exhausted. She floated near the ship's main viewport, breathing heavily. Her fur was scorched from the energy weapons, and dark blood drifted away from several wounds. Inside the ship, 8-year-old Nari would have been sleeping if she had been aboard. But in Hanul's mind, he could imagine his daughter pressing her, small hand against the viewport, looking at the creature with wonder instead of fear. Hanul made a decision that surprised even himself. He activated the ship's external communication system and aimed it toward Hunter. "Thank you," he said simply. "Thank you for saving us." Hunter lifted her massive head and looked directly at the viewport where Hanul stood. For a moment, their eyes met across the barrier of metal and glass. In that moment, both of them understood that something had changed forever. The bounty hunters had retreated, their ships too damaged to continue the fight. Rescue vessels were on their way to help the Dawn Chaser, but Hunter didn't leave. She stayed near the mining ship, circling it slowly like a guardian watching over something precious. For the first time in 50 years, she had found something worth protecting. The hunt had ended. Something much more important was about to begin. The rescue ships arrived 6 hours after the battle. Captain Lee of the mining station's emergency response team had seen many strange things in his 20 years of space rescue work, but nothing like this. "I'm reading a massive life form circling your ship," he radioed to Hanul. "Our sensors show it's the same creature that's been attacking vessels in this sector. Why isn't it hostile?" Hanul looked out the viewport at Hunter, who was floating peacefully near the Dawn Chaser's damaged hull. "I think she's protecting us," he replied. "Protecting you? That thing has destroyed a dozen ships this month." Maybe she had her reasons. Captain Lee was quiet for a moment. "We're going to dock with your ship and get you out of there. Keep that creature calm if you can. We don't want to provoke it." As the rescue ships approached, Hunter watched them carefully. She could sense the fear and aggression from some of the crews. But she also sensed that they were here to help the humans she had chosen to protect. Hunter moved away from the Dawn Chaser to give the rescue ships room to work. But she didn't go far. She stayed close enough to intervene if anything went wrong. 2 days later, Hanul was back at the mining station. The first thing he did was go to see his daughter. Nari was in her small room drawing pictures as she always did when she was worried about something. "Daddy," she cried when she saw him. She ran into his arms and hugged him tightly. "I was so scared when they said your ship was broken." "I'm fine, little star," Hanul said, holding her close. "We had some trouble, but we're all safe now." Nari pulled back to look at his face. "Did you see the space wolf?" Hanul hesitated. He had been thinking about how to explain what had happened. Nari was only 8 years old, but she was smart and deserved to know the truth. "Yes," he said finally. "We saw her." "Her?" Nari's eyes lit up with excitement. "The space wolf is a girl?" "Yes." And you were right about something, Nari. She isn't just a monster that destroys ships. She saved us when we were in danger. Nari clapped her hands together happily. I knew it. I knew she was good inside. Tell me everything that happened. For the next hour, Hanul told his daughter about the battle with the bounty hunters and how Hunter had risked her own life to save the Dawn Chaser. Nari listened with wide eyes, interrupting with questions and comments. She must have been so lonely, Nari said when the story was finished. Living all by herself in space with no family or friends. No wonder she was angry at people. But she's not angry anymore. No, Daddy, she found us. Now she has a family too. Hanul was surprised by his daughter's words. What do you mean? Well, she protected us like family does. That means we're her family now and she's ours, right? Before Hanul could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed in the corridors, and the station commander's voice came over the intercom. All residents report to safe areas immediately. We have an unknown hostile approaching the station. This is not a drill. Hanul looked out the window of Nari's room. In the distance, he could see a ship approaching fast. It was larger than any vessel he had seen before, bristling with weapons and armor. Military markings on its hull identified it as the battleship destroyer. They're here for the creature, Hanul realized. The military is coming to kill her. Over the next few hours, the situation became clear. Admiral Park, commander of the destroyer, had been sent to eliminate what the military called the Voidspace threat. The creature's attack on the bounty hunters had been reported as an unprovoked assault on human vessels. That thing is too dangerous to live, Admiral Park announced at an emergency meeting with the station's leaders. It has killed hundreds of people and destroyed millions of credits worth of ships and cargo. I have orders to destroy it by any means necessary. But it saved the Dawn Chaser, protested Captain Lee. It protected civilians from bounty hunters, who were using them as bait. One act of apparent cooperation doesn't erase weeks of terrorism, Admiral Park replied coldly. The creature will be eliminated. That's final. Meanwhile, Hunter floated in space near the mining station. She could sense the tension and fear from the humans inside. She could also sense something else, the approaching military ship with its powerful weapons and hostile crew. Hunter had faced military vessels before. She knew how dangerous they could be. The smart thing would be to flee into deep space where they couldn't follow. She could disappear into the void and find a new territory, far from human space. But that would mean leaving the Dawn Chaser and its crew. It would mean abandoning the humans who had shown her kindness. For the first time in 50 years, Hunter had found beings who didn't fear her or try to dominate her. They had simply accepted her help and been grateful for it. Hunter made her decision. She would stay and protect her new family, even if it cost her life. The destroyer took position near the mining station and began scanning for Hunter's location. Admiral Park had brought enough firepower to destroy a small moon. He was confident that no single creature, no matter how large or dangerous, could stand against his battle fleet. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Inside the station, Nari pressed her face against the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the space wolf who had saved her father. Nari could feel in her heart that Hunter was in terrible danger. I have to help her, Nari whispered to herself. That night, while the adults were busy preparing for the military operation, Nari snuck out of her room. She made her way to the station's communication center, where she had often watched the operators talking to ships throughout the system. The communication center was empty, except for one young operator who was monitoring emergency frequencies. Nari hid behind the equipment cabinet and waited for her chance. When the operator left to get coffee, Nari climbed into his chair and activated the main transmitter. She had watched the process many times and knew which buttons to press. Hello, Space Wolf, she said into the microphone. This is Nari. I'm the daughter of Captain Hanel from the Dawn Chaser. I know you can hear me. In space, Hunter detected the transmission and turned toward the station. The voice was young and sweet, filled with concern rather than fear. I want you to know that my daddy told me how you saved us, Nari continued. You're very brave and very kind. I wish I could meet you and tell you thank you. Hunter moved closer to the station, drawn by the child's words. The bad men want to hurt you, but I won't let them. You're part of our family now, and families protect each other. Daddy says that's what makes humans special. We take care of the people we love. Nari paused, thinking about what else to say. I drew a picture of you and me together. In the picture, we're floating in space looking at the stars. You're my big sister, and I'm your little sister. I hope that's okay with you. Hunter felt something she had never experienced before. Warmth spread through her chest, pushing away the cold loneliness that had lived there for so long. This small human child was calling her sister. Family. I have to go now, Nari said. But I want you to know that you're not alone anymore. You have us and we have you, that's what family means. The transmission ended, but Hunter stayed near the station. The child's words had changed something inside her. She was no longer just a predator surviving in the void. She was someone's big sister. When the battle came, she would fight not just for survival, but for family. And that would make all the difference. The battle began at dawn, station time. Admiral Park had positioned his fleet in a perfect attack formation around the mining station. 3 destroyers, 6 cruisers, and a dozen smaller attack ships surrounded Hunter's position. Target acquired, reported the weapons officer aboard the flagship. The creature is holding position 2 kilometers from the station. Admiral Park studied the tactical display. The white creature floated motionless in space, seemingly unaware of the firepower, aimed at her. Either she was incredibly stupid or incredibly confident. All ships open fire, Park commanded. The vacuum of space lit up with energy beams and missile trails. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, creating a storm of destruction that should have vaporized any living thing. But when the light faded, Hunter was still there. She had moved at the last possible second, using her incredible speed to dodge between the energy beams. The missiles that came close to hitting her exploded harmlessly against asteroids she placed in their path. Impossible, whispered the weapons officer. Nothing moves that fast. Hunter began her counterattack immediately. She shot toward the nearest cruiser like a white arrow, closing the distance before its crew could react. Her claws tore through the ship's armor, and her powerful muscles crushed vital systems. But this time, Hunter wasn't trying to kill. She disabled the ship's weapons and engines, then moved on to the next target. The crew was left alive but helpless. She's not destroying the ships, reported Captain Jin from one of the destroyers. She's just taking out their weapons. Admiral Park frowned. This wasn't the behavior he expected from a mindless monster. The creature was showing tactical intelligence and restraint. It was fighting to survive, not to kill. All ships concentrate fire on Sector 7, Park ordered. Force it toward the asteroid field where it can't maneuver as easily. The fleet began working together, using coordinated attacks to drive Hunter away from the station. She fought, brilliantly, using every trick she had learned in 50 years of void survival, but she was outnumbered 20-1. Energy beams struck her repeatedly, burning through her white fur and drawing dark blood. A missile explosion caught her off guard, sending her tumbling through space. She was strong and fast, but she wasn't invincible. Inside the mining station, everyone watched the battle through the observation windows. Some cheered when the military ships scored hits. Others watched in silent worry. Nari pressed her face against the thick glass, tears running down her cheeks. Her big sister was fighting for her life against impossible odds, and there was nothing an 8-year-old girl could do to help. Or was there? Daddy, Nari said, tugging on Hanul's sleeve. I need to use the communication system. Not now, little star. It's too dangerous. Please, Daddy. I have to help her. Hanul looked at his daughter's determined face. She had the same stubborn expression he had seen in the mirror when he was her age, no matter how much he wanted to protect her from the harsh realities of the universe. She was going to find a way to do what she thought was right. What do you want to say? He asked. I want to tell everyone the truth about her. Will you help me? 10 minutes later, Nari stood in the station's main communication center. Admiral Park had commandeered the facility to coordinate his attack, but Hanul had convinced him to let his daughter speak. "This better be good, Minor," Park warned. "I don't have time for children's games." Nari looked up at the Admiral without fear. "My name is Nari and I want to tell you about my big sister." "Your sister isn't here, child." "Yes, she is. She's out there fighting your ships. You call her a monster, but she's not. She's family." Park was about to dismiss the child's words when something in her voice made him pause. There was absolute certainty in her tone, as if she was stating a simple fact rather than expressing an opinion. "Go on," he said quietly. Nari activated the communication system that would broadcast her words to every ship in the fleet. Her young voice carried clearly through the static of battle. "Hello, everyone. My name is Nari and I'm 8 years old. I want to tell you about the space wolf you're trying to hurt." In space, Hunter heard the transmission and paused her attack. The child's voice cut through the chaos of battle like a beam of pure light. "She's not a monster like you think. She's lonely and scared, just like anyone would be if they had to live all alone in space. But she's also brave and kind and protective." Nari's words reached every ship in the fleet. On the bridge of the destroyer Courage, Captain Sue found herself listening intently to the child's plea. "She saved my daddy and his crew when bad men tried to use them as bait. She got hurt protecting them, but she didn't care because that's what families do. They take care of each other." Admiral Park tried to interrupt the transmission, but other officers stopped him. Something about the child's words was affecting the entire fleet. "I know she's different from us. I know she's big and scary looking, but being different doesn't make someone bad. And being scared of something doesn't mean we have to destroy it." Hunter floated motionless in space, listening to every word. The child was defending her in front of the entire human fleet. No one had ever stood up for her before. "She's my big sister now and I love her. If you hurt her, you'll be hurting part of my family. Please don't do that. Please try to understand that she's good inside, just like people are good inside." The fleet had stopped firing. Every ship hung motionless in space as Nari's words sank in. "I think she attacks ships because she doesn't know how to ask for friendship. Maybe if we tried being nice to her instead of trying to kill her, she would be nice back. Isn't it worth trying?" Dr. One, the fleet's xenobiologist, had been studying Hunter's behavior during the battle. Now he spoke up over the command frequency. "Admiral, the child may be right. I've been analyzing the creature's attack patterns. She's been specifically targeting pirate ships and vessels engaged in illegal activities. Her attacks on civilian ships only occurred when they posed a threat to her territory. That doesn't excuse the deaths she's caused," Park replied. "No, but it suggests intelligence and a moral code. She distinguishes between threats and innocence. That's not the behavior of a mindless monster." Captain Sue's voice came over the radio from the Courage. "Admiral, my crew is refusing to continue the attack. We didn't sign up to kill someone's big sister." Similar reports came from other ships throughout the fleet. The simple words of an 8-year-old child had accomplished what 50 years of violence could not. She had made them see Hunter as a person rather than a monster. Admiral Park looked around the communication center. Every face showed the same expression: doubt. His certainty was crumbling under the weight of a child's innocent plea. "All ships, cease fire," he ordered finally. "Hold position and await further orders." In space, Hunter sensed the change in the humans around her. The hostility was fading, replaced by uncertainty and curiosity. She moved slowly toward the mining station, no longer dodging weapons fire. Nari pressed her hand against the observation window as Hunter approached. The massive white creature floated just outside, looking directly at the child with her intelligent silver eyes. "Hello, big sister," Nari whispered. Hunter pressed one enormous claw gently against the window, matching the position of Nari's tiny hand. For a moment, the two beings simply looked at each other through the transparent barrier that separated them. In that moment, both of them understood that everything had changed. Hunter was no longer the lonely predator of the void. She was part of a family that had chosen her not because she was strong or useful, but because they loved her. And Nari had learned that family wasn't just about blood or species. It was about caring for someone and having them care for you back. "Admiral," Park watched the interaction between child and creature with growing amazement. "Dr. Wan, is this really happening?" "Yes, sir. We're witnessing the first peaceful contact between humans and a void-dwelling life form. The child has accomplished something our entire military couldn't do. And what's that? She's made peace." Over the following weeks, Hunter became the unofficial guardian of the mining sector. She continued to eliminate pirates and raiders, but now she worked with human authorities to identify threats. Her presence made the shipping lanes safer than they had ever been. Nari visited the observation deck every day to spend time with her big sister. They couldn't touch or speak to each other directly, but they had developed their own form of communication. Hunter would perform graceful movements in space while Nari drew pictures to show through the window. Hanul had been promoted to sector coordinator, responsible for maintaining the relationship between humans and their unusual protector. It was strange work, but he had learned that the universe was full of surprises. The most important lesson had come from his 8-year-old daughter. Sometimes the most powerful force in the galaxy isn't strength or weapons or technology. Sometimes it's just the willingness to see good in someone that others fear. Hunter had spent 50 years believing she was meant to be alone. Now she knew better. She had found her family among the stars, and she would protect them with her life. Because that's what big sisters do.